Yo, what up? Let's get to the show here. My name is Terry, obviously, with College Football Stop. Today is October 25th, Wednesday, Tuesday? Is it? I think it's Wednesday. Anyway, Wednesday, October 25th, and just a couple more days till college football. Man, I can't wait for it. We got a big weekend coming up, so I'm excited for that. Got a couple things to get into. First thing, obviously, there's some new information about the Michigan cheating allegations. I want to get into that. Ohio State coaches met with the media, had a couple interesting things to say. And then I want to talk about this Ohio State offense and talk about how they can improve and how they can continue getting better and not end up losing this team a game, which is something that I've been saying all year, that I think this Ohio State offense could end up losing a game for the team. We'll see, but I want to talk about how they can get better. Anyway, let's get into it. The Michigan allegations thing is crazy. Like I said yesterday, I mean, it's almost like the evidence that you've seen on Twitter, which is not even all of the evidence. You can almost make a conclusion that they 100% were cheating. Like yesterday, I think it was after I had my show yesterday, where a video came out of the Ohio State sideline in the Michigan versus Ohio State 2022 game, and I'm sorry, the video was of the Michigan sideline, not the Ohio State sideline. But anyway, it was the first drive of the game. CJ Stroud goes up to the line of scrimmage, and they do a look back, get a play, which is when a play call will be signaled in, and you can see the guy, what's his name, Colin Stallions. You can see him in the background watching Ohio State's sign, and then calling the play out to the defensive coordinator who's standing right next to him. And then the players in the background are all like pointing their fingers up in the air, saying that it was going to be a pass. I mean, this thing is deeper than what Michigan fans are thinking, at least. That was the very first drive of the game, and how else would they know Ohio State signs in the first drive of the game? Now, that video particularly is not going to be evidence or anything like that, but as a fan or as a someone who's not involved in the actual investigation, that's evidence to us. It's not going to be something they can use in court probably, or in the deciding factor on whether they're going to punish Michigan or not. But again, that's definitely something that, as a fan, as a college football fan overall, you're going to look at that and be like, okay, that doesn't make sense. There's no way they should know that call at this point in the game. And before I move on, I see somebody in the chat here. Chris, what's up, man? If you guys got any questions, put them in the chat. Obviously, hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff if you enjoy the content. But I mean, I just want to get into it, man. Like I said, there was new information that came out yesterday, which was that the Michigan staffer had bought tickets to all of the playoff contending teams last year. So, me being an Ohio State fan, trying to make everything about me, my thought was Jim Harbaugh had to cheat to beat Ohio State. But this is even bigger than that. So when they originally came out and they said uh, it was a vast network, I mean, everyone was making fun of that. Michigan fans, some other fans even were making fun of that, saying, it wasn't a vast network. It's just one guy. But this was a vast network. They when the playoff rankings came out, Michigan went and watched, or bought tickets to, I should say, every single playoff contending team. The only one that I haven't seen confirmed, or at least a rumor that they bought tickets for, was TCU, and that's the team that they ended up playing in the playoffs, who beat them and was not as good of a team as them in terms of like talent wise, at least. And I mean, everybody expected Michigan to win that game. And their fans, even throughout the week, were like, "Oh, we can't wait to see who we play out of Georgia and Ohio State. We're gonna beat you guys." Blah blah blah. And they never even had a lead in that game. So if it comes out that that's the only team they didn't scout and they lost that game, again, not something that's going to be used in the investigation. However, as a fan, it's hilarious, and like, okay, well, they probably would have beat them if they would have been able to scout them properly. I think they just didn't take TCU as serious as a playoff contender, which a lot of people didn't. So I don't know. Some of the teams that they bought tickets to were Clemson. They were in the playoff rankings to start. Tennessee before they lost to South Carolina. Um, Again, everything I'm saying is allegations. I shouldn't be speaking of it as a fact, but I mean, Clemson, Tennessee, the SEC championship game, and supposedly they bought tickets for the SEC championship game for 2021 and 2022. So that means that when they lost to Georgia in 2021, in theory, if this is true, they've already scouted them and watched them play and tried to steal their signs. Now, I think Kirby Smart is that type of coach that would prepare for something like that all the time. I just, for whatever reason, I see him as the type of coach that would just be like, we're going to change our signs constantly. We're not going to let anything like this happen. So I don't know. And look, Chris, I agree with you, man. It's wild, bro. Like, I personally, like, a lot of my friends and a lot of other Ohio State fans are saying, like, oh, well, or even Michigan fans, Michigan kicked our ass, blah, 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 blah. But man, I went back yesterday and watched the 2021 game, and there was one play that stuck out to me in particular. I only watched like the first half, I think, and then I had to go do something. I'm going to finish the rest today. But there was a 4th down and 2 play where CJ Stroud threw the ball a little bit high to Cade Stover and he didn't catch it. The thing that struck me on that play was Ohio State did play action, and not one person in the second level of Michigan's defense reacted to the play action. They didn't come up. They didn't fill a gap. They didn't nothing like that. If they would have handed that ball off, it would have been like a 5-yard gain, 1st down automatically. Instead, their whole entire team drops into coverage because it is a pass play, and then it ends up in being an incompletion, turnover on downs. That was early in the game, but that was a huge play in the game. So, like, people say, oh, well, Ohio State got blown out. Both of the games in the last 2 years were close in the fourth quarter. I think that both of them were one-score games in the fourth quarter. And regardless, even if it was or if it wasn't close, no matter what, if you can know exactly what someone's going to do in every situation, that's going to help you win the game situationally, which is going to help you win the game overall. And I mean, I personally think that that's what they did. I mean, I don't. All the evidence points to they cheated, and all the evidence points to this team is not really as good as they are being made out to be. Again, I think that they are a good football team still, and I think that both things can be true. I think that Michigan could have gotten better than they did. You know, if you look back to 2019, 2020, they could have gotten drastically better. They did make changes on their coaching staff, all that good stuff. That's fine. It doesn't change the fact that what they did, as long as it comes out to be true, was cheating, and they had an unfair advantage. And an unfair advantage in a game like an Ohio State versus Michigan game can mean a 20-point advantage. I mean, if you don't think that, you're crazy, because momentum is a thing. Because situational football, like I said, is the thing. Those types of things matter in these big games. And I mean, I don't know, man. We'll see how it plays out. I don't know what is going to come of this, because I've heard some people say that they think that Harbaugh may have coached his last game at Michigan. I don't think that, because I think that the investigation is going to go on a little further. But the only way that that would be the case is if the evidence just gets too strong and the NCAA or the Big Ten pushes Michigan's hand to kind of be like, hey, we got to suspend him and till this is over. And then if that was the case, he may not ever coach another game at Michigan again. So I don't know. It's super interesting to see how all this plays out, especially as an Ohio State fan, given all the freaking stress and the bullshit we had to deal with. If you're on Twitter, you know what I'm talking about, over the last 2 years, because of them beating us, and kind of the score ended up being dominant. If this comes out to be true, it's funny, it's fucked up, I mean, it's one of the biggest scandals in terms of like cheating in college football history. So I don't know. Maybe I'm overreacting as an Ohio State fan. I'm sure it's probably somewhere in the middle. But regardless, if you know every single time, even if you just break it down to as simple as, okay, I'm going to tell this team every single play, whether it's a run or a pass, that gives your team a major advantage. So being able to actually see what the play is, and have, preparation for, like, okay, if they call this play, we're going to run this defense. It's just an advantage that cannot be, it can't be undervalued, I guess is what I should say, because it's a huge advantage. That was it. There was no other big news. There's one other thing that was talked about, and I don't even know where this came. We're not even going to go into that. It was something about practice I saw too, but I mean, I don't even want to put that out there yet, just because I have not seen from any official source that is true. So we'll just leave it at that. I do want to move on from the Michigan stuff. I've been talking about them a lot on Twitter, even on my show, and I hate that because I don't like Michigan, man. I'm an Ohio State fan. I do want to get into some stuff with Ohio State now. So the Ohio State coaches met with the media yesterday. They had some interesting things to say. It was a little buttoned up. Now I'm going to start with Jim Knowles because his was like kind of less interesting than what Ryan Day had to say. I think that Jim Knowles is the type of person and coach where his defense is playing good right now, so he's just going to kind of be like, yeah, we're playing good. Yeah, I'm that person's playing really well. Yeah, that person continues getting better. When his defense is not playing well, then you start to see him kind of get in his head a little bit more and open up. Both Jim Knowles and Ryan Day both said they were asked. They have no comment on the Michigan stuff. I don't blame them. And Jim Knowles made a joke, and he's like, "Yeah, I was instructed by the higher ups not to talk about that." He's like, "That's the good thing about being the middleman or something." But again, I don't expect them to comment on it because I'm guessing that Ohio State is part of the investigation. And when I say that, I don't mean that Ohio State's the one who snitched or brought it out or whatever. But I think that if the NCAA or the Big Ten came to Ohio State and said, "Hey, can you find this evidence? Can you look and see if this happened?" Of course they're going to cooperate. Why wouldn't they? First off, they have to. Second off, fuck Michigan. I mean, that's just my thoughts on it. Jim knows what did he was asked about Jermaine Matthews, and he basically, in his own words, said he's a dog, and I love that from Jim Knowles. And he was saying things like, "Look, he doesn't fold under pressure. He rises to the occasion. No moment's too big for him. All stuff like that." So, and I agree with him. I mean, Jermaine Matthews came into a top 10 matchup against a team that historically has given Ohio State fits with their receivers, and he played really well. Obviously, he gave up the one touchdown, and I'm going to stand on. I really don't even think that was a catch. The ball was bobbling, and the guy's shoulder touched out of bounds. But even that play was really good coverage. He was like maybe an inch away from that being a PBU. So Jermaine Matthews is one of those guys who's going to be a future superstar at Ohio State. And I think right now he won't play a ton unless Denzel Burke can't play this week, which we'll kind of get into that here in a minute. But moving on from that, he was also asked about Steele Chambers, which Steele Chambers is someone who I've really talked about a lot because I feel like he hasn't been playing his best football. Now, I'm the type of person who can stand on what I say and spin that back and say, look, he is playing good football when they start because I want to see these guys succeed. Ultimately, I'm an Ohio State fan. I'm not a just specific player fan or anything like that. I think Steele Chambers played great last week. I think he didn't make mistakes. He was physical. He was good in the run game. And Jim Knowles said he had a really good week of practice. He said he told Steele he had a good week of practice. So hopefully having Cody Simon step in for Steele and take some of those reps away is like an eye-opener for him. Like, hey, I got to get on my shit. And hopefully he continues doing that because I think having a mixture of those two is probably still the best. But if Steele Chambers is going to start playing better, obviously that's going to make the defense better. So it's, again, any player on this team playing better ultimately helps the team. So I love seeing that from him. Most of the other stuff Jim Knowles had to say was just about like Wisconsin. They have a good running back, the game plan against them, all that good stuff. I'm going to move on to what Ryan Day had to say. One of the first things he was asked about was Carnell Tate. And Ryan Day compared where Carnell Tate is right now to some of the greatest wide receivers that we've seen at Ohio State, especially in the Ryan Day tenure. So he was talking about like Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, JSN, Marv, Emeka. He said that's where Carnell Tate's at right now. And honestly, I see it. I also think that Carnell Tate is a little bit different of a wide receiver than what we're seeing at Ohio State because I feel like they're willing to throw him more jump balls. I feel like instead of just asking him to run a route, like a comeback and get open, he can do that stuff too. But it seems like Kyle and Ryan Day are comfortable with throwing him the ball when he is covered and letting him trying to go up and get it. So that's a good sign to me. Having that type of receiver is always huge, and we have that with Marv. But, I mean, if we can just move from Marv onto Carnell and he can be that guy, that would be awesome. And then the next thing, the one thing, this was just an observation of mine. When Ryan Day was talking about the offense, he doesn't seem worried about it, which I think is a really good thing. I think that we, as Ohio State fans, we see performance. We see what the offense is able to do, and we kind of get worried, like, oh, this offense is going to get shut down when they play against a good defense. Ryan Day doesn't seem like he has that type of energy with the offense. To me, he's saying like, we're going to be all right. We're going to keep getting better. We're going to be able to put up points. That's at least the vibe that Ryan Day gives off. Um, I mean, I trust him. I trust him and Ryan Day as a play caller and as an offensive mind. I'm sorry if you guys can hear some of that noise. There's a dude out there weed whacking outside of my house. But anyway, um, Ryan Day, like I said, he just seems super confident in the offense, and he seems like it's going to get together. He said, and he keeps saying like our goal has always been for us to play our best football later in the year, which I kind of like that philosophy. I think that playing your best football early in the year is a problem because it's hard to sustain that every single week. But also, there's problems on this offense that need to get fixed, and he talked about some of that, about how the run game needs to get fixed. He said that some of the issues were offensive line, some of it is running backs, and he said they need to figure that out because the run game has to be a huge part of this offense. And I agree with him on that. And then the last thing that Ryan Day talked about was the backup quarterback situation. He said that as of right now, Tristan Gebbia and Lincoln Kienholz have not been getting a lot of reps because the reps are going to Kyle McCord and they were going to Devin Brown before he got hurt. I like that Ryan Day said that basically we're going to decide this week who the backup quarterback is. And he talked very highly of Lincoln Kienholz. Obviously, he was like Tristan Gebbia has like 6 years on him or whatever, which is kind of crazy to think about. But he said Lincoln is a guy who just does what he's supposed to do and is constantly learning and constantly getting better. So, I mean, I don't know if we'll need it to see the backup quarterback. I hope we don't because, just if that happens, that means that something happened that could end up being terrible for this team, especially against a team like Wisconsin. Um, but it's cool that Ryan Day is going to let them battle it out. And I hope that Lincoln Kienholz wins that because personally, if it came down to it and a quarterback had to come in the game, I would rather see Lincoln. Um, I know what Tristan Gebbia is, and he's not terrible, but at the same time, like, I don't know. I guess it's kind of like that shiny new toy thing. You want to see those young guys, and you want to see what they can do. So the last thing I want to talk about with Ryan Day. So he was asked about like the Devin Brown package, and he was asked if Lincoln Kienholz can run that, and he didn't shoot that idea down. He said that could be a possibility. I don't think that it will be because Lincoln's not really as big as Devin. He's kind of a skinnier guy right now. Obviously, just being a true freshman, not having that year under the training program. But Ryan Day also mentioned like other people like Emeka Egbuka when he was healthy and Xavier Johnson as possible fits for that. I don't want to see that. I want to see a quarterback out there, and I think he also at the end of that statement was like, "Yeah, we usually do that with our quarterbacks, though," which again I agree with him there because I do think that Ryan Day was planning on letting Devin Brown throw the ball. I think that the plan was to run it, but keep doing this to get this on film. And I do think that eventually his plan was to let Devin Brown do a play action and throw the ball. And it seemed like he was excited about that package, so that makes me excited about it. Hopefully, we get Devin Brown back in a couple weeks, and um, if we do, hopefully we'll see that package kind of thrown right back into the mix, and maybe they'll let him throw the ball. I would love to see Devin Brown throw a touchdown versus Michigan. Chris, nah, dude. See, Chris asked, "Do you think that they would put Kienholz in the DB package?" See that, and like I said, Ryan Day didn't shoot that idea down because Lincoln is a really good athlete. But I don't. I guess that I should word it this way. I could see Lincoln Kienholz coming into the game in a package like that. I don't see that being a strictly short yardage package if it did happen. Like I heard that Ryan Day was planning on putting Devin Brown in the game for the 4-minute drive against Penn State when they were trying to run the clock down, right? Which would make sense. Like you're gonna add that extra element where it should help your running game, and if you get a first down or two, the game is over. Obviously, Devin Brown was injured. I could maybe see Lincoln coming in a situation like that if they trust him that much. But I don't necessarily see them trusting him that much to put him in a game where the game is still on the line and you're trying to run the clock out. So to me, the that was a long answer. The short answer is no. I don't see Lincoln Keenholz playing that position, but if he does, I would be excited about it. I mean, the kid is a super athlete. You know, I mean, he was like he was all state in what I think football, basketball, and baseball or something like that, and was out there doing windmill dunks in games. I mean, I don't know. I would like to see the kid get out there and play, and maybe he will make some plays. We'll see how it works out. I don't expect to see Lincoln this weekend versus Wisconsin, but if it happens, just know that I'll be giddy and I'll be excited about it. All right, so that was really it for what the coaches had to say. I want to move on to the last subject of the day. It's kind of a short show. I just want to talk about Ohio State's offense. We've kind of already talked about it a little bit, and the first thing I want to talk about is getting back some of the key players, which was one of the main topics of the show today. I think that Ohio State probably will end up getting Travion Henderson back this week and Emeka Egbuka. I think both of them probably could have played last week, but they just, I don't know. I guess I shouldn't say that they probably could have played because against Penn State, you're going to play the best guys. I think that they were both still hurt, but I'm hoping and I think that they will get both of those guys back this week. I don't think that Denzel Burke will be back this week. I mean, just from what Ryan Day said about it and kind of what's coming out from the guys on the beat who are who get to go to the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, I don't think that Denzel Burke's going to end up playing, which I'm fine with. I mean, if these teams that you're playing against are not teams that are just going to dominate you through the air when you look at Penn State and Wisconsin. So get those young guys reps, get Jordan Hancock reps, because I don't know if Jordan Hancock's going to leave for the NFL this year. He might. If he doesn't, he's probably going to end up being one of Ohio State's outside corners next year. So we'll see how that works. But I mean, all the guys that played in the game versus Penn State were really good. And I mean, so for Denzel Burke, it's like, look, take your time, get yourself 100% healthy, and come back to finish this year strong. Because I think Denzel was on pace to have a really, really, really good year for an Ohio State cornerback. I think he would have had multiple interceptions by now, a ton of PBUs. You know, obviously he was out there laying big hits on people. Already forced a fumble this year that turned into a touchdown. So I'm excited to get him back, but I don't think it'll be this week. So we'll see how that plays out. Now, in terms of the overall offense, though, like basically the question that I ask myself is, can this offense take another step forward in this Wisconsin game? And the short answer, I think, is yes, they can. But I do want to get into it because I think it's more nuanced than just saying yes, they can. So obviously getting Travion Henderson and Emeka Egbuka back is going to be a boost for this team. I don't care what people say. A lot of people still hate on him because of last year and just how he looked and whatnot. I have always stood on him, probably will always stand on. Travion Henderson's the best running back on this team. And I think if you give Trey all the carries that you gave Chip and Mayan, obviously not every single one, but if you gave Trey, let's say just Mayan, he had like 20-something carries against Penn State. And if you give Trey all of those carries, I think that you win that game by probably at least 10 more points. And I think that he's just that dynamic. And when he did play this year, his vision has been better. He has been making the right cuts, the right moves. And he has the ability to make guys miss, which he showed in the Notre Dame game. You know, that was a play that was not blocked perfectly, the one that he scored a touchdown on. He bounced it to the outside, got an open field, made a guy miss, and outran two other guys. I mean, that's just something that no other running back on this team brings us, except maybe Dallin Hayden. But we also haven't seen that from Dallin Hayden either. We've seen Dallin Hayden have elite vision, and it seems like Ryan Day and Tony Alford are questioning Dallin Hayden's ability to pass block, which if you look in the one game that he did play, the Purdue game, he missed a lot of pass blocking assignments. So again, I think Travion Henderson's the best back on this team, and I think that this offense, he just adds an explosiveness to this offense that it needs, given the fact that Kyle McCord is not playing his best football right now. And then obviously, like the other guy I was talking about was Emeka. Having him back is going to be huge. I think that a lot of people have talked about the Kyle and Marv connection. I think that is a thing. Obviously, Kyle looks for Marv, but I think that it's against Penn State. Kyle like extra looked for Marv because of Emeka not being out there. And when you look at like the games previous to that, it was kind of like 50-50. He would throw to both of them, and it seemed like he had full confidence in both of them. So I think getting Emeka back is going to be huge. I think that will help take this offense to another step. And they're also incorporating Carnell Tate more. And I would like to see them do that with Marv and Emeka once he comes back. Give me a package with Marv, Emeka, and Carnell Tate out there because that's going to be hard to defend. One of those guys is going to be on their third best coverage player if they're, assuming they're playing man. One of those guys is going to be on their third best coverage guy. I'll take any of those three against their third best coverage guy any day, no matter what team it is. And I think they'll win that matchup 80% of the time probably. So again, that it's just something that I want to see from this offense. I want to see them become more dynamic. And honestly, I don't want to hate on Julian Fleming. I feel like he actually played his best game last game against Penn State, but he didn't get the ball because clearly Kyle McCord doesn't trust him or didn't look his way. The plays were not called for him, whatever. But I mean, he was out there cooking people, but he also had a couple plays that I'm just like, dude, you got to catch that. Carnell Tate probably catches that. Emeka definitely catches that. So again, not to hate on him, but I do want to see at least sometimes with those three receivers out there. Give me that Carnell Tate, Emeka, and Marv package, and I'm guessing that will be super effective. Moving on to just kind of what else I think the offense can do better. I think that in terms of running the ball, I talked about this a little bit on my show yesterday, but I want to talk about it again because it's super important. I don't think that this team is going to achieve the goals that they want to achieve if they can't run the ball. And I think that a lot of that falls on the tight ends blocking. A lot of it falls on the running backs using proper vision, trusting their offensive line. And then it also falls on some play calling a little bit. But when I say play calling, what I mean is don't run stretch to the boundary every time. And then also, I think that we should just take the whole read play out of the offense. I mean, it's a super effective play, one that I think would help Ohio State's run game if you had a quarterback running it properly. But at this point, excuse me, at this point we're reading defenders, and we're not. It's like a fake read. Like I said yesterday, if you're reading a defender and leaving him unblocked, and the quarterback is just going to hand it off no matter what, that player crashes down the line to the running back. That play is not going to go anywhere, and the issues that I'm talking about are what caused Ohio State's stats, I guess, or dominance of Penn State to look not as good. And if you look at the first half of the game, Miami was kind of running all over Penn State. So was Chip. You look into the second half of the game, they were still getting some positive plays, but they were also getting negative plays and no game plays way too much. And a lot of that fell on the fact that we were just handing the ball off to the running back, fake reading a defender, and they're tackling the running back as soon as he gets the ball because there's nothing he can do about it. So I don't know. Hopefully they'll mix that up and mix in some of those like orbit motions to create to create confusion. I think that ultimately if they do those things and if they stop doing like loser plays where you're putting your running back in a position where he's going to fail no matter what, I think the running game can get going. I think we have the offensive line to do it. The offensive line played phenomenal against Penn State, and ultimately I think that they're starting to gel now. I think that Justin Fry felt the heat from the Maryland game where the offensive line really didn't play well at all. I think that Ryan Day put the heat on him, and I think that he kind of kicked his guys in the ass and said, look, we got to do it now. Right now is the time. And I expect them to just continue getting better as the year goes on. So ultimately, that's the long answer. I think that Ohio State's offense can get better, and it will get better. Some of that is going to depend on the play of Kyle McCord. I think that he can continue getting better. He's never going to be like C.J. Stroud. He's never going to be Justin Fields, obviously, with his physical ability. But I think that Kyle can keep getting better. And I think that one of the rhetorics that I've heard from multiple other guys who make content is that Kyle doesn't need to be a quarterback that can win a national championship today. He just needs on Saturday to be a quarterback good enough to beat Wisconsin. And then the next week, he needs to be good enough to beat, I think Rutgers is who they play. And then when it comes November 25th, he needs to be a good enough quarterback to beat Michigan. And then once you get into the playoffs, you have a lot of time to prepare, and you need to be a good enough quarterback to run Ryan Day's offense, because at that point, Ryan Day opens up everything, and This offense should be able to put up 30, 40 points. And if you put up, I think this team, if they put up 30 points, it's a dub. No matter who they're playing this year, if you score 30 points, I don't see any other team scoring 30 points on Ohio State. So I don't know. We'll see, man. I'm super excited about this season. I love this defense. That's one of the things that I just can't stop talking about enough. I love what Jim Knowles is doing. They got freak athletes out there. They're making plays constantly. So I think this team still is poised where they could win a national championship and obviously beat Michigan. I think we go up into Ann Arbor this year and kind of put it on Michigan, especially if the cheating that they've been doing or the cheating that they're alleged of doing, if it's had as big of an impact on the game as I think it has, I think that we go in there and we beat them by double digits easy. Even though they are a good football team, I think that this is just a better football team. All right, I'm going to wrap the show up there, guys. I'll be live again tomorrow at 10 a.m. Sure there'll be some new stuff coming out about the Michigan fiasco, and then we'll get into some more stuff with this Wisconsin game because I do want to start focusing on that game. Too much focus has been on Michigan. But thanks for coming, guys. Peace out. You guys have a great day.